So the league, the NFL, is planning to hold a draft in a TV studio setting. They're not going to hold it in Vegas, where they were going to have boats deliver players to the, the set. And I got to tell you something. Every time in this country we have had a crisis, we not only rebound, we're stronger than we were before. 9/11, I thought, until this potentially, was the worst domestic tragedy I'd ever seen. Airport security got significantly better. I think we're smarter with our travel now than we've ever been post-tragedy. Listen, the NBA, this morning, I don't think we're going to have an NBA season. I thought about it all weekend long. I don't think it's possible. Even if we go 2 or 3 months and then re-engineer it, those players may not have COVID-19, but they go back to families. And if one player tests positive once you return, then you've got to test everybody. And I just don't think the NBA is comfortable in that space. Last week, they even closed practice facilities. But I was thinking about the draft. I'm not one of these people that complains about the halftime show at the Super Bowl, because the Olympics and the Super Bowl are so big that they're really social events on the calendar. My mom watched the Olympics. My mom doesn't like sports. My mom watched the Olympics. My sister will watch the Super Bowl. She's not a big sports fan. So I like these just Lady Gaga, these massive halftime shows and Olympic ceremonies that bring in casual fans. But it's also okay to have niche events that you don't turn into a beauty contest for television. It's okay to have the College World Series, the College Baseball World Series. It's just for college baseball fans. And the Frozen Four in college hockey. And the Coca-Cola 600. And it's okay to have the NFL draft and not have players have to be on boats and not have to make it for my sister. I'm a draft dork, and I have been for 30 years. And it's okay in sports to occasionally just have stuff for a college hockey fan and a college baseball fan. There's not a ton, but they're diehards. You go to the South, they love their college baseball. Don't try to water it down or beauty it up. Make it pure. Coca-Cola 600. It's for NASCAR fans. Just let them have their fun. Let them have their day. Let them have their race. Last year, I watched the NFL draft, and I've seen it the last couple of years. It's trying to get too cute. Don't. ESPN does a great job with it. I think it's the best thing they do. I think it's the single best thing they do is the NFL draft. My former employer. They're terrific at it. Let them do it. Don't water it down. Don't make it for non-sports fans. Let draft dorks have a weekend. One. Super Bowl, I get the halftime show. Olympics, I get. These are massive 100 million people viewing social events. And I also think the NBA. I hope the NBA, Adam Silver's such a smart guy. I hope he looks at this. He's a very progressive thinker and says, you know what? We're not going to beat the NFL in October, November, December. We're not. Legalized gambling is going to make the NFL stronger. We're not only taking on the NFL, we're taking on college football. The weekends are for football. And then in January, most of the teams are done. You go to the playoffs. Then there's some openings. I hope Adam Silver looks at this as an opportunity. We start the season in Christmas. We wrap it up June 1st. We get to the playoffs. And, we're done August 5th. 2 days later, the draft. 2 days later, free agency, whatever order that goes in or you want it in. And then 6, 7, 8 days before Labor Day, they hand it over to football. August is wide open. July is wide open. See it as an opportunity, NBA. Why are you giving July away? You kidding me? I'm a sports talk show host. I am dying for topics by July 3rd. Wouldn't it be awesome if the conference finals were starting then? And the finals are starting, July 17th, and then it's done? I mean, this whole thing is real estate. And I think right now the NBA, this may force them to re-examine their properties. Grab July. Give up October, November. Now, there's not a lot of sports, and I'm not sure how many Mondays we can keep doing this, but we do have a free agent edition of Colin Right, Colin Wrong on a Monday.
Where Colin was right?
Well, it was at Tuesday that we were 6 hours ahead of anybody. We got Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay for the first time in my career. I broke an NFL story without an NFL source. It was somebody who plays in a different stratosphere. He knows Tom, and he said he's all in. He's going to Tampa. I thought to myself, well, I'm going to look incredibly foolish, which just happens from time to time, or I'm going to break Big J journalism. So I kept texting, and he lined it all up, and everything he said was true. And we got the story on that one, which is, nice job, everybody.
Where Colin was wrong.
The problem was I never thought Tom Brady was leaving New England. I still think he would have stayed, but Bill Belichick stoned him on a phone call. Was very abrupt. That story's out now. They also couldn't land Stephon Diggs. I think Brady, as Albert Breer came on our show and said, he wanted to stay. He was going to listen. He was waiting to see what happened in that March 16th, 18th window. But I was really surprised. Not shocked, but, in the end, he's a creature of habit, and he went from prep school, rigid New England, to public schooled, wild, crazy kids in Tampa. Before Tuesday, I didn't really think Tampa was a sight, so I whiffed on that one.
Where Colin was right?
We keep saying if the Cowboys love Dak, why aren't they signing him? Well, last week they gave $100 million to Amari Cooper potentially. This goes back. I don't care what you say. I care what you do. The Cowboys are paying running backs 2 years early, injured linebackers a year early, good receivers, not superstars, Amari Cooper, $100 million. They've paid everybody but Dak. I've always said those New England, Philadelphia road losses, 0 touchdown drives when Dak had significantly better offensive line, running back, and weapons. Jerry Jones got on that private jet with Steven flying home, and they pushed the pause button on it. So you can keep telling me everybody loves Dak, but I'm going to believe your actions, not your words, and Dallas has signed everybody but Dak.
Where Colin was wrong.
I thought the Colts were going to address quarterback in this draft. I thought that I knew Cincinnati was and Miami was and the Chargers were. I thought the Colts were. I don't really get the Phillip Rivers thing. I wouldn't have made it, but also they gave up a first-round pick to get a defensive lineman, so the quarterbacks that will be left are not, to me, unless somebody pops and shocks the world, I don't think we're going to have a Drew Brees in the second round. I love Chris Ballard. I think he's terrific. But it does feel a little bit here like you're putting your problems on a credit card. You're going to have to address them and pay the bill next year. And again, I think the Colts are just too darn good with Phillip Rivers. They're going to be a 500 team, right? Well, they're not going to be, and nobody, the teams that are going to need a quarterback, Jacksonville, New England, I don't think they're moving down. So this move I don't get, and I don't love it.
Where Colin was right?
I never felt there'd be a big market for Cam. It's smaller than I thought, but this goes back, people are saying with Cam Newton, and I've never been a big fan. I think he's an average quarterback who had a spectacular year. It's like who was the guy that played for the Baltimore Orioles years ago? Brady Anderson, good player, hit 50 jacks one year. Good players have great years. Cam's good. He's not great. Never has been. Doesn't win enough. Not accurate enough. Gets hurt a lot. I think he's a little bit higher maintenance, but the media has been nice to Cam, forgiving with Cam. There's not much of a market. People say, well, he can't get a physical. If Russell Wilson couldn't get a physical, if Lamar Jackson couldn't get a physical, if Patrick Mahomes couldn't get a physical, you think they'd be unsigned? The reality is with Cam, he had a small market. The physical, the virus doesn't help him. But most people in the NFL believe what I thought, which is great year, not a great quarterback, older, getting banged up, not worth much, and nobody wants to build around him.
Where Colin was wrong.
I keep thinking OBJ being traded by the Browns makes so much sense, but last week they came out and the new people said, no, we're keeping him. Cleveland has major O-line issues. You can't address all of them in the draft. And they have major linebacker issues. I like their roster, but those are areas of concern. And they have more than enough skill people. They just got Austin Hooper from Atlanta, a tight end. So they have David Njoku and Hooper at tight end, Jarvis Landry, 2 good backs. They may draft another receiver. They don't need OBJ. And Baker and OBJ completed only 55% of their throws. It doesn't work. OBJ tends to be a little bit of an ad-libber. Baker Mayfield, when forced to ad-lib, makes too many mistakes. Cleveland appears to like him. It's not even their guy. They could move off this easily and say, we didn't bring him in. I keep saying this is going to happen. The past group said it's not going to happen. This group, they're keeping him. I don't get it, but I'm wrong.
Where Colin was right?
Kept saying last year, Todd Gurley, Rams. Don't buy into this. Don't tell me it's fine. It's a bunch of nonsense. I'm hearing it's not fine. Well, the Rams basically released him. He can still play a little. I mean, seriously, he's 25. He can play. And it's a $20 million cap hit, dead money. How, if it's so great, why would you cut a guy in a position of need that can still play a little? He's still a great pass catcher at running back. And it's $20 million of dead money? And you don't have a lot of first-round picks next few years? It tells you it got uncomfortable in the room. I'm not saying Gurley's a bad guy, but he got his money, he got hurt, and something changed. And the Rams were trying to sell this as we're just one big happy family. You don't release a guy, $20 million dead cap money, who can still play a little bit, maybe more than a little, unless something was wrong.
Where Colin was wrong.
Kirk Cousins got a 2-year extension. I don't get it. 0-9 on Monday Night Football, 2-10 against winning teams. We know he's at least the third best quarterback in his division. Aaron Rodgers and Matt Stafford are more talented. And Nick Foles is now in the division, and he was the Super Bowl MVP. And is often better in big games. I like Minnesota. I like their front office. I love their roster. It's a Super Bowl roster. They've hit a ceiling. The NFC's only going to be better. I don't get it. I thought they were moving on. And they're the kind of team that could move players and trade players and move up in the draft. No Jordan Love. I don't get it.
Where Colin was right?
You know, we said a month ago, keep your eye on the Broncos. They're not that far off. They won 4 of their last 5. Last 12 weeks, they were 7-5 and had 5 one-possession losses. Well, have you seen what they have done this offseason? Melvin Gordon's in. Jarrell Casey, defensive lineman's in. A.J. Bouye, the cornerback, is in. They think they're close as well. I like this roster a lot. I think it's much closer than people think. They're my surprise team in the NFL next year. And, by the way, Bradley Chubb comes back with Von Miller, now Jarrell Casey. You don't want any part of that defensive line. I think Denver knows and Elway knows. We found our quarterback. We're going all in. I think Denver's telling you, we're good. We're better than you think. We're going all in. And I think he's right.
Where Colin was right?
The Chicago Bears traded a draft pick and inherited 2 to 3 years of a massive Nick Foles contract. Why? Translation, we're not giving Trubisky another contract. Folks, Bear fans, you have a good team, but your front office whiffed on this one. They whiffed. It happens. Belichick whiffs. Just own it. All this is telling you is that Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, coach and GM, are telling you, listen, we think Foles is a better thrower of the football. We like our weapons, and we've hit a very low ceiling. And we can't beat Aaron Rodgers twice a year and Matt Stafford and Kirk Cousins if we got the 4th best quarterback in a division. So by giving up a draft pick and paying Nick Foles for at least 2 years, it's telling you they're not paying Trubisky. They can tell you they're in on it. They're not in on Trubisky.